I chose the residency program, and that kind of really catapulted other opportunity, myself into other opportunities to seek that, ultimate dream that I had.
Hey team, welcome to the Kick It with Katie podcast. I'm your host, Katie Colliker, and welcome to episode 20. We've done it. We've gotten here. I'm super excited about this. So thank you guys so much for joining me today, and thank you so much for listening. Please make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and give a 5-star review wherever you listen. Give a great review and subscribe so that you are aware when new podcast episodes drop. And today's episode is going to be my interview with Garza. Greg is originally from Texas, and he moved around a lot. He calls himself a gypsy or a nomad, and he shares with us his story of all the different places that he's been with his sports soccer career and where it took him and what he is doing now that he has retired and what he's doing for the youth today and how he's helping mentor them and his venture with his partner, Michael Parkhurst, and what they're doing together is great. It's called Beyond Goals Mentoring, and he gets more into it in the interview. So I will let you guys hear that there and get that information, and any links that you might have for what we talk about are going to be in the show notes. So please look for those. Head over to my Instagram and you can see some pictures of Greg on his journey and different places that he played. And also I'm finally doing the giveaway for the shirts. So please go there so that you can get a free shirt if you want one. So go there, follow me, and the giveaway will be released soon. So I'm sorry it wasn't done sooner, and I'm super excited. I've told you how many times I've been excited to do it, and so it's finally being done. So please head over to my Instagram, Kick It with Katie podcast _ between all the words, links in the show notes. If you have any questions or you want to reach out to me or anybody that I've interviewed, or you have questions for anybody I may interview in the future, just general questions, shoot me an email at kickitwithkatiepod@gmail.com. That is also in my show notes. But here is my interview with Greg Garza. Enjoy. Hey guys, today I have Greg Garza with us, and I would like to welcome him and just let him share a little bit about his story of growing up playing youth soccer and then his pathway to playing pro.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's an honor to be here. For me, I had a very different pathway, a non-traditional pathway than most American kids of making it professionally. I kind of consider myself one of the first nomads to go above and beyond of moving to a different country at a very young age. I started playing the game, and I was always in between baseball and soccer until I had the opportunity to actually move to a different country, and I moved to Brazil at the age of 12. Leaving family, leaving friends, leaving everyone behind, and kind of adapting to a new culture, a new environment, a new language, something that I was completely unknown to me at that time. So that's where my journey started as a youth player and playing in Brazil, of the likes, beside Oscar, who played at Chelsea, who's in China now, Casemiro, who's at Manchester United, had those guys to kind of grow up with and learn from. Little did we know any of us were going to be professional, but going through those ranks and kind of learning from the very best at a very young age, and having that opportunity to do so, which was very rare at the time, was an awesome opportunity for myself. And ultimately, I never went back home since. I kind of been this gypsy that's kind of hopped around from place to place and lived all over the world and played all over the world. But that's kind of where my journey started, and having that opportunity at the age of 12. Whereas, I always talk about with kids, and always talk about with players, that pathways can always be so very different, right? Don't ever look at anybody else's pathway and think that yours has to be exactly the same, because everyone's is absolutely different in regards to hopefully achieving your dream and hopefully achieving that objective and goal that you have in the future.
Yeah. And I love being able to hear everybody's different stories because, like you said, not everybody's pathway is the same. And so I really love that people are willing to share what their pathway was like so that people can know there's not just one straight line that you have to take in order to achieve those dreams. There's so many different routes to achieving that goal, and it's just kind of the persistence, and sometimes it is like the who you know kind of a thing, but also just putting yourself out there into those positions and being able to be seen so that you can be recruited or whatever your goal is, in being seen. And how was it, transitioning from America at such a young age, and going to Brazil, having to learn that language? Was soccer kind of a thing that I know you said that you kind of did soccer and baseball in the United States. So then was that kind of a good stepping stone when you moved to Brazil, that you had that background with soccer, and being able to relate to other kids your age when you went there?
Yeah, for sure. I think, at the time it was a moment to where my mentor, whose name is Teodoro Santana, who ultimately played with Pele, played, in Brazil, was an icon, was an idol, and idolized by Sao Paulo, and won a lot of championships with Sao Paulo back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
He had moved to Dallas on kind of the wave of when Pele came over to the Cosmos, and he ended up, residing and finished his career in Dallas. And he saw me at a very young age, probably about the age of 8 and 9, and had this ultimate belief and faith that I had something special within the talent that I had, within the God-given talent that I had of playing soccer. So having that opportunity to go to a different country was solely based on him giving me that opportunity and sitting down with my parents at a very young age, explaining that, hey, this kid has something special, but I'd really like to kind of perfect his craft and really like to continue to help his development in a place to where the kids are the best in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first given opportunity to do something that was so special, and kind of opened the doors to everything else for me, right? Little did I know everything was going to ultimately work out and my dreams were going to come true. But without taking that step into the unknown, I look back today and I probably wouldn't have been as successful as a player, and even more so as a person, because I think moving to a different culture and a different environment, a different language, the way people live, the way people are. For me, it was not only learning from the best on the soccer field, but also just learning about life in general, and kind of
Mm-hmm.
seeing different aspects of the world, and being grateful for what I had as an American, but also realizing that the kids that were there with me, the only thing that they had was soccer. And so it gave me a different perspective, not only about the game, but also just about life in general. And it really started to make it much more serious for me at that time, because every single one of those kids that were in the academy, they were an investment, right? They were an investment for the
Mm-hmm.
club, and they were trying to be bred into something that was, going to be Neymar, or going to be in the likes of Oscar and Casemiro, who were there with me. So it's you look at those examples, and I think it kind of made me realize at a very young age that I grew up a very fast life at a very young age, and I started to realize, okay, this is something that's probably much bigger than just being a kid. This is something that I really need to hold on to this opportunity and make the most out of it.
Mm-hmm. So I've had the opportunity to see the Real Madrid Academy over in Spain. So and I don't know if you've ever seen, I'm assuming you've probably seen some of these places, but is the academy in Brazil, is it a similar thing where you go to school there and you do your trainings and everything? And
Yep.
then also, did your parents move to Brazil with you, or was it kind of a you went on your own, or how did that work?
Yeah, for sure. I would say, I have been to the Real Madrid facility. I have played against Real Madrid Castilla in their younger ages as well when I was with the youth national teams. I've been to a lot of different facilities, but I would say the bread and butter of world development within soccer players is probably in South America.
Mm-hmm.
You look at some of the greatest players, and it's you look at their academies and their facilities, and you just realize, okay, this is where these kids are given this opportunity of a lifetime to kind of grow in every way possibly, whether it be mentally, emotionally, on the field, physically, whatever it may be, to be bred into something that's great and special. Yes, my mom did move with me for the beginning of everything, and was very fortunate that I had that opportunity to have her alongside of me and kind of go through that process with me and go through that initial step into my journey. And I'm very grateful for my parents to allow those things to happen, to give me that opportunity to kind of seek my dream from a very young age, but also trust the word of others that saw something special within my talent as well, and grow from that in the best way possible.
I mean, that's an amazing opportunity to be able to be given that opportunity, obviously, to go down there and be a part of something like that. And it's great to see now, hopefully some of these MLS academies that are trying to do that as well. So I'm in Utah, so we have the Real Salt Lake facility that they've built, and that is, I mean, it's pretty groundbreaking what they've done, and it's really great to see what other academies are starting to do as well. My family, we know Tyrone Marshall, who's been with FC Cincinnati, and some other people from other clubs around the nation. And so it's really awesome to see that the sport is growing and developing like it has in other countries. So, that's awesome. So they don't have to go out of the country to be able to get those opportunities. Hopefully now we can provide that here within our own nation and be able to develop and grow those players here.
No, most definitely.
So then after your experience in Brazil, what was the pathway that led you to going professionally? So I know that you played in Brazil, and then and then it looks like you went to Mexico. So what was your pathway after your youth career, and where you kind of bounced around there professionally?
I was very fortunate as a kid to always be involved in the youth national teams. So I went to the residency program in Florida in Bradenton with the under 17 national team. I was selected to go there right before I had turned 15. So that was my next move after living in Brazil. It was either maybe stay in Brazil a little bit longer or have the opportunity to go into the residency program, in which I chose the residency program, and that kind of really catapulted myself into other opportunities to seek that ultimate dream that I had. And I am very grateful for the youth national team because I think that opened the doors to so many cool places that I got to see in the world, but also a lot of eyes and a lot of visibility and opportunity that was there with it. So having the ability to go in the residency program where it's the top 40 kids in the country that are training each and every day, that's a similar system to where I was in Brazil, and already having that experience and kind of using that to my ability, to the best of my ability, and kind of to, I guess, that little edge or advantage, and just being used to something like that, I made the most of it. We got to use IMG's whole entire campus. We lived on campus, which is an amazing facility, and we got to have the same amenities that every kid had there, and we were the scholarship kids of the campus. So, I look back and I look at my career, and I'm so grateful for the youth national team of U.S. Soccer. I was able I believe there's only very, very few of us that went through the whole entire process from the age of under 14 all the way up until the full team. And I'm very grateful and fortunate to say I was one of those kids. And so that's the beauty of soccer, being able to be involved with people that saw you at a very young age, and being in that system, in the U.S. soccer system from a very young age, and then getting to the full team and seeing everything come full circle, and seeing the same people that might have been involved in the front office, or whether it was equipment managers, or whether it was PTs or physical therapists or doctors, and they saw you from the age of 13, 14 go into being a man and going through the whole entire process. So that really opened the doors to so many other opportunities, and having the ability to play in the Under 17 World Cup, and then after that getting seen by teams and agents, and having that ultimate opportunity to say, okay, becoming pro can be something that can happen for me. And having that chance after the 17 World Cup, and going on trial and trying in different places and having teams see me, was that big step from deciding not to go to a traditional college route, still promising my parents I was going to get a degree online, but
Mm-hmm.
ultimately trying to seek my dream the quickest way possible right after graduating from the residency program.
Mm-hmm. And did you get your online degree
I
for your
did. Yeah.
parents?
Yep. Yeah, I did. That
Awesome.
was the first thing I did right when I signed my first pro contract. Was I also enrolled in online college, and I mean, I graduated high school, I believe, right before I turned 16, and I believe I graduated college maybe before I turned 20 years old. I have a bachelor's in sports management and an associate's in international business.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So it can be done. You can do both. I know that there are some players who have weighed their options, whether they're going to be able to go pro or whether they're going to be able to get their degree. So it is really nice to live in this age now where the online, you can get stuff credits and do the college work and things like that online and be able to kind of, do both and still be able to play the game that you love and that you want to be pursuing, and then also have that degree to be able to use once your career is over. And then as a professional player, what teams or clubs did you play for, and how was that being, because you were on a couple different teams, so how was that for you in your professional career?
Yeah, I played for multiple teams. I mean, I have tattoos all over my body, and like I said in the beginning, I always consider myself a gypsy because I've never really had a home sweet home from the very very young age. But then becoming a pro at the age of 16, 17, moving to Portugal and starting with Sporting Lisbon. Then getting, the last year of my year there in Portugal, playing for Estoril, which is the second division team in Portugal, and then moving to Mexico after that, played for Tijuana for 5 years, and then played for Atlas for a year, and then came down to Atlanta and played here for 2 years, and then finished my career with Cincinnati for another 2 years after that. So a very long and grateful and very fortunate career that I had, but had the ability and opportunity to move to so many different places, learn so many different languages, learn about so many different cultures, and kind of use that to shape. I always say to use that to shape the person that I am today. I think without moving all over the world and playing in different continents and different countries, I probably wouldn't be the person that I am today. So I do believe in true education and schooling education, but I'm probably a much more firm believer that trotting the world has kind of really taught me so many more valuable lessons in life, and I think even look at different sides of the field, or the other side of the field, and kind of how to navigate and dealing with certain people, or kind of building those relationships and friendships. I think soccer is the most beautiful way to do it, because in a locker room you have different languages spoken, you have different cultures that are being meshed together. Not everybody thinks the same, and so that's something that's also super super valuable, and I think living in all of those other different places as well.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the things that I've loved about, I don't know, I'm assuming you might watch Ted Lasso, but one of the things that I love about Ted Lasso is looking at the dynamic in the locker room, because there are so many different people and cultures that are all brought together in that locker room, different languages and personalities and things. So it's definitely really fun to be able to see all of those differences coming together for that one common goal and the one thing that they love together, and then working together, especially when there are language barriers for some people and things like that, but they're able to communicate on the field together because they just know what they should be doing. And so it's beautiful to be able
So,
to see that.
soccer is universal language, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. As a player, whether in your youth career or professionally, did you have any major obstacles that you needed to overcome? Any injuries, things like that, that you want to share, and kind of your story about overcoming those?
Yeah, I think you said in the very beginning, right? The line is it's never linear, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's always hurdles and obstacles and challenges and trials and tribulations that you have to fail, or have to go through to kind of still achieve that success, or achieve that that objective and goal you might have. I think you could probably speak to every single player who has ever played professionally. They've always and all been through something. Or even anyone that is successful in anything that they do. There's always things that you have to go over. There's always things that you have to get through.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the beauty of life, right? And I know for many professional athletes and for many people out there, their biggest fear is failure. And I think we're all guilty of that as well. But I think of learning, I think when you really look at the word of what failure means, it's usually just a lesson you have to learn to kind of build upon for whatever is next. So, I think in my career, from whether it was trialing in places as a pro and failing, whether it was going through multiple injuries and surgeries that I had in my career, which were a lot in the double digits.
Wow.
Just going through many different moments of adversity and kind of understanding that, okay, what's the mindset, how to get through those things, how to conquer what's on the other side, and kind of how to use, which in my opinion, the mental game and the mindset is the most important asset of anyone in life, but especially as a person who goes through the professional athlete environment and kind of process. And I think the mental game, in my opinion, is by far the most important asset that you can have going through the career of a professional athlete.
Yeah, and as I think about youth players of today, uh, just being able to overcome even just the small little challenges with your teams, that's going to make a huge difference as you go further in your career because the challenges are only going to get harder. And especially if you do go to like an academy or a professional career, because it's basically like you're on display and those challenges aren't going to go away, because I know that there's some players out there who maybe there's a team dynamic that they don't like, or there's something that's not going right for them, and instead of trying to figure out how to deal with the problem, they just want to quit or whatever. And the biggest thing is being able to overcome those challenges, because you're going to be faced with probably even harder challenges when you go to an academy or play professionally, and you're going to have, or maybe even just face those same challenges just at a different level. Just being able to deal with and overcome whatever challenges you might be facing is definitely, like you said, everybody's going to have those challenges and things that they need to overcome, and so being able to face them and try and get over them.
Yeah, for sure.
So then, after you stop playing, you have now started your Beyond Goals mentoring, and so why don't you tell us a little bit about that and what you guys are doing there?
Yeah, in regards to finishing and hanging up the boots, one of my best friends and ex-teammate and ex-captain here at Atlanta United, we were very fortunate to win the 2018 MLS Cup together. And this is a project and a program that we had ultimately always talked about. We sat next to each other in the locker room. We were roommates. We just realized the importance and essential, I guess, essentialness of the mind game and the mental aspect of us being professional athletes. But not only as pros, but what was our upbringing and what was our support and what was our mindset even when we were kids going through the youth systems. Whether it was the pressures that we were dealing with, like you spoke about, whether it was the moments of resilience or moments of perseverance that we had to go through to continue to build and kind of perfect our craft in the best way possible. And just so many other vital and key components that have to do with not only just the God-given talent that each and every player may have at their feet. There are so many other things that go around being a successful player. And if I were to ask every player that we have the ability to work with, or when we speak to teams, or when we speak to large audiences, or whatever it may be, I always ask the question of what's the percentage of people who think the game is mental and in regards to being physical. In comparison to being physical. And every single person always uses a bigger number for the mental game. And that is the importance of how much our mind plays a role in how we carry ourselves on the field and how we react to certain moments on the field, how we react to certain situations, how we react to so many different things that go along within our youth careers or even our professional careers. And so we created this program called Beyond Goals Mentoring, and have had the ability to share not only our experiences, not only our knowledge and wisdom of the game and give back to the game that gave so much to us, but we've also been able to guide families throughout the confusion of what youth soccer might be these days in regards to what leagues to choose, in regards to what pathways to take, and kind of give personal examples and things that we ultimately learned from coaches and things that we learned throughout our career, what that have to do with confidence building, that have to do with dealing with adversity and building resilience and perseverance, that have to do with gaining leadership and how that can play such a major role in everything that you do, what it's like to be in a team environment, right? And so our initial idea when we first created it was to work with players that were on that pathway to pro, but as we continued to grow, we realized that a lot of these life hacks and a lot of these nuggets that we were kind of giving these kids would ultimately help all of these kids be successful in anything that they do. Whether it be, kids that wanted to make varsity just from JV in high school and don't play club, or whether it be for kids who just want to play club and use club to get a college education, right? All of these little things and all of these little assets and traits and qualities that we had as players, as pros, will ultimately help these kids understand the value of them in whatever environment that they're in, whether they be a lawyer, whether they be a doctor, whether they be a nurse, whether they be work in radio, whatever that they do in life. All of these assets that we had as players that made us successful in our realm can also help them in whatever they choose to do as well. So that's been kind of our whole program in a nutshell, and kind of what we do and how we focus and custom tailor it to each and every individual in regards to whatever they're going through and how to build them up as a player / person. And it's been awesome. We've been now up and running for almost not quite 2 years yet, but we've been able to make such an impact on so many different players' lives and families' lives as well, and that's what it's all about. We wanted to find a passion after hanging up the boots and giving back to the game that gave so much to us, and we finally have that in front of us, and we've been able to make the most of it.
That's awesome. So how can people contact you? And is it just a local thing, or do you do it online? Do you travel? What can people expect?
Yeah, everything we do is virtual. I actually have a few players at Real Salt Lake in the academy as well. We have players from Portland, we have players from Seattle, we have players from Orlando, Miami, New York, Jersey. So many players from all over the states, and we have players that are also in different parts of the world, because that's something that we can relate to. That's I always say we serve almost as a big brother companionship to whatever any player is going through. We know mom and dad are always a huge support. We know their coaches are going to be a support, but we just serve as an additional asset to those players to have in their corner and give them someone that they can relate to, look up to, and also kind of learn and kind of grab onto those ropes the same way we did when we were kids as well. So we have our sites, beyondgoalsmentoring.com. I believe our Instagram is Beyond Goals Mentoring. Our Facebook is BG Mentoring. Our Twitter, I believe, is BG Mentoring as well. We ask anyone who is in need of guidance or mentorship or that companionship along to go with their boy or girl or their son or daughter in regards to whatever is next and in regards to whatever they're dealing with on the field. We have been able to help so many within the community of what the soccer world is in the States and all over the world.
Yeah, it's awesome to be able to have somebody give advice that has been there and gone through the system. And so it's really great to be able to have people like you that are willing to do that for these youth players, because I know it can be super scary for these players who it's kind of, it's the unknown for them, and being able to look to somebody who's been there, done that, made those decisions. And obviously, everybody's decision is going to be different because, there's not just that linear path. And so, one of the other things that players, I feel like, and this is something that my husband has given this information to some of his players who have had to make these decisions, whether they're gonna play pro, academy, collegiate, things like that, and just letting them know that whatever decision you're making, it's not necessarily the end all be all, because some players feel like if I don't commit to this and I don't make this decision right now, then my career's over. But there's always going to be something else, and there's always another option for after that. So making those big decisions when you're a youth player, especially, there's probably always going to be another option for you. And so it's nice to be able to have somebody like you who's able to guide them and let them know what those options may be for them, depending on what their situation and scenario is. And so that's awesome that you guys are doing that. And I will definitely have your guys' links in the show notes. I know I've watched a couple of your guys' YouTube interviews that you guys have done with some of your players. So those have been really great and informative as well. So you guys can check them out there and see what they offer. And if you guys are interested, make sure you reach out, because it is a great program. And I'm happy that you guys are doing that. That's so amazing. Before we close, do you have any advice that you would like to give youth players of today, just based on your experiences? Just any advice?
Yeah, for sure. No, thank you so much for your support. It's been an honor to share my story and share our story as what we are as a program, and how we can always help and give back to the beautiful game. I think the biggest message that I always give to every single player is, no matter where you are, no matter what level you play, no matter what decision you make, just like your husband said, in the end all be all, you don't, that's never what it has to be. But I always ask every player to always figure out what their why is, what their why behind every decision that they make. But not necessarily that, just what their why is, because why are they involved in the game? Why did they start playing in the first place? And why do they do what they do every single day? And sometimes along with those pressures, along with those conflicts, along with those major overwhelming decisions that we have to make, we always have to remind ourselves, okay, why did I do this in the first place? And I'm sure they can always take themselves back to the very beginning in regards to understanding, okay, I did this for the love of the game, because this is what makes me happy, and this is what I love to do. So whatever decision-making process that they're going through, whatever scenario they're in, whether it be a good one or a bad one, the highs and lows, whatever it may be, I always tell players to remember their why. That's the most important piece of advice that I can give.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree. I know, even just speaking, because I'm a youth coach right now currently, and just remembering, even just personally as a former player and now a coach, I'm wanting to share my knowledge and love of the game with these girls that I coach. And so sometimes when it gets really difficult and the girls aren't maybe playing together as well as they should be, and then they come and they just play so well together in another game, and then I go, okay, this is my why. This is why I keep coming back, because they're learning and they're progressing, and that's what I want to do and share with them. And so it's definitely good, whatever realm you are in, whether you're a parent, a player, a coach, making sure you know what your why is and what your focus should be. So if you're a parent of a player, remember your role and your position in supporting your player. And if you are the player, putting up your goals, maybe writing them out. I know for a while I was working on something myself, and so I had something written on my mirror so that I could see it every day. And so it's definitely good to make sure that you remember your goals and what they are. So I love that advice, so that people can keep that and thinking about it, especially if they're going through those hard challenges, like you said, just remembering your why and what you're trying to accomplish, and for the love of the game, because hopefully you do love the game, because it is a great game and I love watching it. And so it's definitely a major part of my family. For people that know my family, we're a huge soccer family, and we watch a lot of soccer. We go play a lot of soccer. We travel all the time. And it's just fun, and it's it's just great. And I love how it brings people together. So thank you so much for being on today. It was so great talking with you and learning more about you and having you share your story. So thank you so much for coming on today.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I'd love to do this again at one point in time. So I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Greg, for your interview. I love doing it. You had so much information and so much stuff to share, and I really loved it. And hopefully we can have you or Michael on again soon and hear more about what you guys are doing, and if you have any more advice for players of today, which I'm sure you're a wealth of knowledge, both of you. And thank you so much coming on for Greg and sharing your story. I know that your journey will definitely help a lot of players of today, and hopefully they will reach out to you if they have any questions or need help deciding on what their pathway or future might hold in the sport. Links are in the show notes for Beyond Goals Mentoring and also for Greg's Instagram if you want to follow him there and follow Beyond Goals Mentoring. They also share clips of interviews that they do with some of their players or other players that they might know that want to share their knowledge. And they do give some little tips and things on there. So go ahead and follow them on Beyond Goals Mentoring. And thank you so much, Greg, for your interview. Again, thank you guys for following me on this journey and listening to the stories of these players and letting them share their experiences with you so that they can hopefully help you in your journey as a player or a parent or a coach, and that you guys can learn from it. Don't forget to go to my Instagram for the shirt giveaway, Kick It with Katie podcast _ between all the words. And you guys, this has been fun, and I'm going to take a couple weeks off, but thank you for kicking it with me. We'll see you soon. Have a great day. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Kick It with Katie podcast _ between all the words. You can reach out to me with questions at kickitwithkatiepod@gmail.com. I also have a feature with SpeakPipe where you can leave me your own voicemail message if you want to be featured on the podcast. Rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.